What's up guys, this is Evan from Canyon, and today I've got to show you the iOS 6.0 Beta 1 jailbreak. iOS 6.0 came out yesterday, well the beta did at least, it was announced yesterday, and we have already gotten it jailbroken, untethered on the iPhone 4S. So this jailbreak is done using the Aphelia exploit found by KCL03. We were originally going to release it for 5.1, but then Pod2G and the iPhone dev team, whichever one, released it before we did, and so instead of wasting an exploit by releasing ours on top of theirs, which doesn't make any sense at all, we decided to save it for 6.0, which was a good idea because it turned out that the exploit's still available, and we should be able to have a jailbreak for 6.0 as soon as possible. Now, as you can see, I've got Cydia open. The SSH blobs for 6.0, Sorik, which is the guy that made Cydia, his TSS servers, which are basically his website that stores all of your SSH blobs. For whatever reason, they don't pick up the iOS 6 SSH blobs as of yet, but I'll explain that in a moment. And if I scroll down all the way, you can see iPhone 4S, iOS 6.0, and Cydia 1.1.6. Now, back to the SSH thing there. Apple has changed around lots of their frameworks in iOS 6 and just basically overhauled the entire thing itself. Just lots and lots of changes. As a result, a lot of apps and stuff from Cydia and things like that don't work correctly as we have them set up for iOS 5. Now, Cydia in this case was actually quite a challenge to get working, even though it only took us I think 7 hours total. First we got apt working, which is basically, it's the program underneath Cydia that manages all the packages, that installs them all, that handles them all. Cydia is just an app that lets you see it graphically without having to type things in. So we had to get apt working. On top of that, we had to overhaul Cydia a bit using Sorik's source code, and then got that working. We actually didn't have to make all that many modifications, just a slight bit to handle the new frameworks. And so yeah, that's basically it for Cydia. We got that working. On a second note, also, the only thing that I can see that's going to be a little bit of a challenge with iOS 6 is, since it took us quite a bit of work to get just Cydia working, lots of the tweaks and everything, they're going to have to be updated by the developers in order to get them to work on iOS 6. So a lot of the tweaks for iOS 5, I'm predicting, will not be able to run just plain by themselves without any modification on iOS 6. So I'll show you some more stuff. As you can see, I've got Cydia right there, and then we've got the Passbook, which is iOS 6 feature. The redesigned Settings app icon there looks different, and a little bit of the redesigned clock hands there. And as you can see, we've got the Apple Maps app, and it's got 3D. Make sure you guys can get a good view on this here. So that's part of iOS 6 Beta 1. And if you're going to the Settings app, you can see the redesign. You got the Do Not Disturb button, which pulls up that there. And if you go to General, About, and scroll down very carefully, you can see we're on version 6.0, build 10A5316K. I don't know. And then model MC924LL. If you search that up on Google, you can see that this is an iPhone 4S. I would show you the antenna bands and the SIM tray, but I have a case on, and it's not very fun to take off. And as you can see, I've got the light in the back. If you go look at our other video where I do show that this is an iPhone 4S, this is the same one. I haven't sold it, and in fact, it kind of grew on me, and I decided to keep it. So you can look at that video and see that this is the iPhone 4S. So this is an untethered jailbreak, which is surprising because usually a tethered comes out first. So if I shut it off, wait a few moments. There we go. Then turn it back on. any minute now. Takes a little while. And there we go. As you can see, it booted back up. And there's iOS 6 with everything. So that's basically it for this video. This exploit, or I guess the jailbreak for iOS 6, will be available as soon as possible. If you know, we haven't released too much information about Aphelia yet, we will be. It requires a dump of memory that's KCL03's domain. I don't really mess with that stuff as much. That is unique for every restore that we have to do. So if anyone that's seen our last videos where we kept talking about having to go through and getting our hands on every device and taking them apart and flashing, or dumping stuff onto our computers, we have to do all of that work again for all the devices on iOS 6. We've got to go through and borrow them, and we still have not found an iPad 3, nor have we raised nearly enough for us to be able to get one. So if you know anyone that has an iPad 3 that they're really willing to let us borrow in our area, just send us an email, something like that. As for donations, as for the last video we talked about, where if you donated, you got it quite a bit earlier than everybody else, that we're still going to do that with this. That way the people that donated for the last one still get what we promised them. So if you donated already, like for the 5.1, then don't even worry about it. You'll still get it early, just like everybody else. And if you want to get it early, you can donate by looking at the link in the description and save your transaction ID that we send to your email, and that will allow you to get the jailbreak once we release it a month earlier than when we release it to the entire public. So if you want to help us out by doing that, that would be awesome, because if we can't get an iPad 3 or can't get every device that we need to by its time to release, we won't have support for that device, and that device won't be able to be jailbroken. So we've got to get an iPad 3 somehow. So that's pretty much it.